At 2 in the morning, insomnia has a way of making you philosophical about your failures. I was standing in my kitchen staring at the coffee maker like it held answers to questions I didn't want to ask when Marta's phone buzzed on the granite countertop. She'd left it there after her exhausting day at the agency, the same excuse she'd been using for 3 months. The screen lit up with a text from Vinny. "Missing you already, beautiful. Can't wait for our weekend in Chicago. Tell the idiot you're at another conference. My name is Aiden Brooks. I'm 46 years old. I run a logistics company that I built from nothing. And apparently I'm the idiot." I picked up the phone. No passcode. Marta always said she had nothing to hide. The irony wasn't lost on me as I scrolled through months of messages that would make a sailor blush. Vincent Harrington, CEO of Marta's advertising agency, had been very thorough in documenting their affair. Hotel reservations, restaurant bookings, and enough graphic details to fuel a dozen divorce proceedings. "Aiden, what are you doing?" I turned to find my wife of 22 years standing in the doorway. Her silk pajamas perfectly arranged despite having supposedly been asleep. Her blonde hair fell in waves around her shoulders, and even at 44 she could still stop traffic. Too bad she'd been stopping it for Vincent. "Reading bedtime stories," I said, holding up her phone. "This one's particularly interesting. It's about a woman who thinks her husband is an idiot." The color drained from her face, but Marcia had always been quick on her feet. "Aiden, I can explain." "Can you?" "Because Vincent's pretty detailed here. Apparently I snore too loud, I'm boring in bed, and I have no ambition. Oh, and my favorite part, you two laugh about how clueless I am. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories." She moved toward me, her hands raised like she was approaching a wounded animal. "It's not what you think. Vincent and I were just soulmates," I read from the phone. "That's what you called yourselves last Tuesday, right after you told him how you fake headaches to avoid sleeping with me." "Aiden, please. Did Vincent teach you that innocent look, or is it still amateur hour?" The question hung in the air between us like a blade. Marta's composure cracked, and for a moment I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. "You're being ridiculous," she said, but her voice wavered. "Vincent is my boss. We work closely together. Sometimes the messages might seem like what? Like you're planning to leave me as soon as you figure out how to maximize your settlement." I scrolled to another message because that's exactly what this says. I watched her face cycle through emotions, denial, anger, calculation. Finally, she settled on defiance. "Fine. Yes, Vincent and I are together. We're in love, Aiden. Something you wouldn't understand because you've been sleepwalking through our marriage for years. There it was. 22 years reduced to a confession delivered with the passion of someone ordering coffee." "How long?" I asked. "Does it matter?" "Humor me." 8 months. 8 months. I thought about all the late nights, the weekend conferences, the sudden interest in yoga classes that somehow never improved her flexibility at home. "And everyone at your office knows." She didn't answer, but the silence was confirmation enough. I set her phone on the counter and walked toward the stairs. "I'm sleeping in the guest room. Aiden, we need to talk about this like adults." I stopped and turned back. "Adults? You mean like how you and Vincent talked about me like I was a dog that needed to be put down?" "That's not save it, Marta. We'll talk when I decide what to do with these screenshots I just sent myself." Her eyes widened. "You can't what expose your affair. Watch this." I left her standing in the kitchen, probably calculating damage control. But as I lay in the guest room bed staring at the ceiling, I wasn't thinking about divorce lawyers or division of assets. I was thinking about Vincent Harrington's smug face and how much I was going to enjoy wiping the smile off it. Some men would have confronted the lover immediately. Others would have packed their bags and disappeared. But I've always believed that revenge, like a fine wine, improves with age and proper planning. By morning, I had a plan. The next day, I did something I hadn't done in 5 years. I showed up at Marta's office with lunch. The Harrington Creative Agency occupied 3 floors of a glass tower downtown. All modern furniture and exposed brick designed to scream, "We're artistic but profitable." The receptionist, a young woman with purple hair and enough piercings to set off a metal detector, looked surprised to see me. "Mr. Brooks, Marta didn't mention you were coming by." "Surprise," I said, holding up the bag from Marta's favorite bistro. "Is she in?" "She's in a meeting with Mr. Harrington. They've been in there all morning working on the Morrison account. I'll bet they had." "Mind if I wait in her office?" "Of course. You know the way." I did know the way. I'd been to enough company parties and spouse events to navigate the maze of cubicles and conference rooms. What I didn't know was how many of these people had been laughing behind my back. Marta's office was on the 2nd floor, a corner space with windows overlooking the city. Her desk was immaculate as always, except for a coffee cup with lipstick stains and a yellow sticky note that read V7 p.m. usual place. "Wear the blue dress." I photographed the note and was placing the lunch bag on her desk when I heard voices in the hallway. "Poor Aiden probably has no idea." "Are you kidding? Everyone knows except him." "It's actually kind of sad." I recognized the voices: Sienna Walsh, Marta's best friend at the office, and Jake Turnbull, the copy chief. I pressed myself against the wall beside the door. "I mean, Vincent's not even trying to be discreet anymore," Sienna continued. "Yesterday he had his hand on her ass during the staff meeting. Marta's playing with fire. Jake said Vincent's wife has money. If she finds out, she won't. And even if she did, Vincent's already talking about leaving her. He and Marta are perfect for each other. Both ruthless, both willing to step on anyone to get what they want." "What about Aiden?" Sienna laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "What about him? He's a nice guy, but let's be honest. When was the last time he did anything exciting? Marta needs someone who can keep up with her ambitions." They moved past the office, their conversation fading. I stood there for a moment processing what I'd heard. Not just the confirmation of the affair, but the casual cruelty of it. To them, I wasn't a person. I was an obstacle to be removed. I left the lunch on Marta's desk with a note. "Thought you might be hungry after your morning meeting. Your husband?" On my way out, I stopped by the reception desk again. "Could you tell Marta that Aiden stopped by and that I said hello to Vincent too?" The receptionist looked confused, but Mr. Harrington isn't. "Oh, I'm sure he'll get the message." I was halfway to the elevator when I heard Sienna's voice behind me. "Aiden, what a surprise." I turned to find her approaching with that predatory smile she wore at parties. Sienna was the kind of woman who fed on drama, and I could practically see her salivating at the possibility of stirring up trouble. "Sienna, how nice to see you. Marta didn't mention you were coming by. She's going to be so surprised." "I hope so. You know, you should surprise her more often. Marriage takes work, doesn't it?" "You have to keep things exciting," or she shrugged, letting the implication hang in the air. "Or what?" "Or someone else might provide the excitement you're lacking." The elevator arrived and I stepped inside. As the doors closed, I smiled at her. "Don't worry, Sienna. Things are about to get very exciting." That evening, Marta came home late, claiming she'd been working on a presentation. She was distant during dinner, checking her phone constantly and avoiding eye contact. "How was your day?" she asked, the question automatic and hollow. "Productive?" I had lunch at your office. She looked up sharply. What? I brought you food from Meridian Bistro. Didn't you get it? Yes, I got it. Thank you. Did you enjoy your meeting with Vincent? It was fine. Just work stuff. I'm sure it was. We finished dinner in silence. Later, as she prepared for bed, I watched her from the doorway of our bedroom. Marta. Yes. When you and Vincent laugh about me, what's your favorite joke? She froze, her hand halfway to the light switch. What are you talking about? I'm just curious. After 8 months, you must have developed quite a repertoire. Aiden, I don't know what you think you know. I know that Vincent's wife has money. I know that everyone at your office is watching our marriage fall apart like it's their favorite soap opera. And I know that you think I'm too stupid and boring to do anything about it. She turned to face me. And for the first time since our kitchen confrontation, I saw the real Marta. Not the guilty wife or the defensive cheater, but the calculating woman who'd been planning my humiliation for months. What do you want me to say, Aiden? That I'm sorry? That it was a mistake? We both know this marriage has been over for years. Vincent just helped me realize it. So this is my fault. It's nobody's fault. We grew apart. It happens. Grew apart, or you grew bored and decided to trade up. She sighed like I was a child having a tantrum. Vincent understands me. He challenges me. He makes me feel alive in ways you never could. And his wife? Does she make him feel alive too? That's different. Vincent and Catherine have been unhappy for years. They're only staying together for appearances. How convenient. You can be sarcastic all you want, Aiden, but it doesn't change the facts. Vincent and I are meant to be together. We're soulmates. There was that word again. Soulmates. Like they were star-crossed lovers instead of two people cheating on their spouses. Well then, I said, I guess I should get out of the way. She looked surprised, like she'd expected more of a fight. What does that mean? It means I'm going to make this easy for you, both of you. I left her standing in the bedroom, probably wondering if I was finally going to be the mature, understanding husband she could divorce without guilt. She had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I called my son, Ross. At 22, he was finishing his computer science degree and had inherited my talent for seeing patterns others missed. More importantly, he'd always been closer to me than to his mother. Dad, everything okay? You sound weird. I need a favor, Ross. A big one. What's going on? I explained the situation, keeping the details clinical and factual. Ross listened without interruption, and when I finished, there was a long silence. Jesus, Dad, I'm sorry. That's really messed up. I need to know everything. Phone records, email accounts, social media activity. Can you help me? You want me to hack Mom's accounts. I want you to help your father understand the scope of what he's dealing with legally and ethically. Another pause. Yeah, okay, I can do that. But Dad, whatever you're planning, be careful. Mom's not going to just roll over. I'm counting on it. Ross worked fast. By that afternoon, he'd compiled a digital dossier that would have impressed the FBI. Deleted text messages recovered from cloud backups, location data showing regular visits to the Marriott downtown, credit card records for restaurants I'd never been to, and lingerie I'd never seen. But the real treasure was Marta's private Instagram account, the one she thought she'd hidden. Photos of her and Vincent at romantic dinners, weekend getaways, and intimate moments that made my stomach turn. The captions were even worse. Finally found my person. And some people are worth waiting for, and when you know, you know. Each post had dozens of likes and comments from her co-workers and friends, all of them congratulating her on her happiness and glow. It was like watching a parallel universe where I didn't exist. There's more, Ross said when he called with updates. I found email chains between Mom and Vincent going back 10 months. They weren't just planning the affair, they were planning what comes after. What do you mean? They've been discussing how to handle the divorces. Vincent's been talking to lawyers about protecting his assets. And Mom, Dad, she's been documenting things, building a case that you've been emotionally distant and neglectful. Building a case for what? Alimony. She wants to make sure she comes out ahead financially. I sat in my home office staring at printouts of my wife's betrayal and felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't just an affair. It was a coordinated campaign to destroy my life while maximizing her profit. Ross. Yeah, Dad. How would you feel about helping your old man level the playing field? What do you need me to do? That evening I met with Milo Patterson, my oldest friend and a former police detective who now ran a private investigation firm. We'd known each other since college, and if anyone could help me navigate the legal complexities of what I was planning, it was Milo. You look like hell, he said when I walked into his office. Feel worse? I need your help, Milo. I laid out everything, the affair, the evidence, the financial planning, the public humiliation. Milo listened with the patience of someone who'd heard every variation of human betrayal. What do you want to do about it? He asked when I finished. I want to destroy them, both of them, completely and legally. Milo leaned back in his chair. Okay, but we do this smart. No violence, no illegal surveillance, no breaking and entering. We use what they've given us and we use it strategically. What do you have in mind? Vincent Harrington is a public figure. His agency handles major accounts and his reputation is everything. If his affair becomes public knowledge, especially if it involves workplace harassment or favoritism, the board will have no choice but to act. And Marta, she's built her career on being the perfect professional. If that image gets shattered, especially in front of her peers and clients, she'll have a hard time recovering. We spent the next 2 hours planning. Milo would handle the professional investigation, documenting everything in a way that would hold up in court. I would handle the personal side, gathering more evidence and positioning myself for maximum impact. There's one more thing, Milo said as I was leaving. Jake Turnbull, the copy chief at Marta's agency. He's been asking around about Vincent, trying to get dirt on him. Sounds like he's got his own agenda. What kind of agenda? The kind that might make him a useful ally. I found Jake at Murphy's Pub, a dive bar 3 blocks from the agency. He was sitting alone at the end of the bar, nursing a whiskey and looking like a man with grievances. Jake Turnbull. He looked up, squinting through alcohol-glazed eyes. Aiden Brooks, Marta's husband. That's right. What do you want? To buy you a drink and have a conversation? He gestured to the empty stool beside him. Suit yourself. I ordered 2 whizzies and waited for Jake to speak first. It didn't take long. You know about Vincent and your wife? I do now. Everyone knows. Has for months. Vincent doesn't even try to hide it anymore. That must be frustrating. Jake laughed bitterly. Frustrating? It's infuriating. I've been at that agency for 12 years. I've written award-winning campaigns. Brought in major clients, worked 80-hour weeks. And Vincent promotes your wife to senior account executive after 18 months because she's sleeping with him. That doesn't seem fair. Fair? Jake's voice rose and other patrons turned to look. Vincent's been screwing over employees for years, playing favorites, stealing credit, making promises he never keeps. But nobody says anything because he's the golden boy with the corner office and the rich wife. His wife has money. Catherine Harrington comes from old money. Her family owns half the real estate downtown. Vincent married into it and he's been coasting ever since. I sipped my whiskey, processing this information. What would happen if Catherine found out about the affair? Jake's eyes lit up with malicious glee. She'd destroy him. Catherine's not some passive trophy wife. She's got a law degree and a mean streak. If she caught Vincent cheating, especially with an employee, she'd take him for everything he's got. And the agency, the board, would panic. Vincent's supposed to be the stable family man leader. If his personal life exploded publicly, they'd cut him loose to protect the company's reputation. We drank in companionable silence for a moment. Two men united by a common enemy. Jake? Yeah. How would you like to help me give Vincent exactly what he deserves? Jake smiled for the first time since I'd sat down. What did you have in mind? By the time I left Murphy's pub, I had an inside man at the agency and a detailed plan for Vincent's professional destruction. Jake would feed me information about upcoming meetings, client presentations, and board activities. In return, I would make sure Vincent's downfall created opportunities for Jake's advancement. It was almost midnight when I got home. Marta was in bed pretending to sleep, but I could tell from her breathing that she was awake. I stood in the doorway for a moment, watching the woman who'd shared my life for over 2 decades. I know you're awake, I said softly. She didn't respond. I want you to know that I understand now. You and Vincent are soulmates. You deserve each other. Still no response, but I saw her body tense. So I'm going to make sure you get exactly what you deserve. I closed the door and went to the guest room where I spent the next 3 hours reviewing evidence and refining my strategy. By dawn, I had a timeline, a target list, and a clear objective. Marta and Vincent wanted to play games, fine. But they were about to learn that I'd been underestimated my entire life, and I'd gotten very good at using that to my advantage. The war was about to begin. 3 weeks later, Harrington Creative was throwing its annual holiday party at the Meridian Hotel's ballroom. It was the kind of corporate event that Marta lived for, an opportunity to network, impress clients, and show off her success. Under normal circumstances, I would have made an excuse to skip it. Tonight was different. Tonight was the culmination of weeks of careful planning. I'd spent those weeks playing the role of the defeated husband. I'd been quiet and withdrawn at home, giving Marta space to believe she'd won. Meanwhile, Milo had been documenting everything. Jake had been feeding me inside information, and Ross had been monitoring their digital communications. The evidence file was now thick enough to choke a horse. Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, photographs, text messages, emails, and witness statements from agency employees who were tired of Vincent's favoritism. We had enough material to destroy both their careers and their reputations. But I wanted more than professional consequences. I wanted public humiliation. You look nice, Marta said as I adjusted my tie in the hallway mirror. She was wearing a blue dress, the same blue dress Vincent had requested in his sticky note, and she looked stunning. It almost made me sad. Thank you. You look beautiful. She seemed surprised by the compliment. Are you feeling okay? You've been so quiet lately, just thinking about things about us. Aiden, it's okay, Marta. I understand now. You and Vincent are meant to be together. I'm not going to stand in the way anymore. The relief on her face was almost comical. She'd been expecting a fight, and instead I was giving her permission to move on with her life. I'm glad you feel that way, she said. I was hoping we could handle this maturely. Oh, we will. Very maturely. The Meridian's ballroom was decorated with twinkling lights and elegant centerpieces. The agency had spared no expense. Open bar, live jazz band, and enough shrimp cocktail to feed a small army. I recognized most of the faces from previous parties, but tonight I was seeing them differently. These weren't just Marta's co-workers. They were my audience. Vincent was holding court near the bar, surrounded by junior executives and laughing at his own jokes. He was a handsome man in his early 50s with silver hair and the kind of confidence that came from never facing real consequences. When he saw me, he raised his glass in a mock toast. Aiden, great to see you. How's the logistics business booming? I replied. How's the creative business still inspiring people? Every day your wife's been particularly inspired lately. The comment was designed to provoke me, to make me lose my temper in front of his colleagues. Instead, I smiled. She certainly has. Marta's always been good at finding inspiration in unexpected places. Vincent's smile faltered slightly. He'd expected anger, not agreement. Well, inspiration is what we do here. We help people discover their true potential. I'm sure you do. In fact, I think you've helped Marta discover exactly who she really is. Before Vincent could respond, Sienna Walsh appeared at my elbow, already 3 drinks into the evening. Aiden, I didn't expect to see you here. How are you holding up? Holding up? You know. She gestured vaguely toward Marcia, who was across the room talking to clients. With everything that's been happening, everything's been wonderful, Sienna. Marta's never been happier. That's very mature of you. I'm a mature man. I want what's best for my wife, even if what's best for her isn't me. Sienna looked confused, like she'd prepared for a different conversation. So, you're okay with the situation? More than okay. I'm grateful. Grateful. Vincent helped me see who Marcia really is, and Marcia helped me see who I really am. It's been very enlightening. I excused myself and made my way to the men's room where Jake was waiting as planned. You ready for this? He asked. More than ready. You have the envelopes? He handed me a manila folder containing 24 sealed envelopes, each one addressed to a different member of the AY's staff and board of directors. Inside each envelope was a carefully curated selection of evidence, photographs, text messages, email printouts, and a cover letter explaining the timeline of the affair and its impact on workplace morale and professional ethics. The board members' copies include the financial analysis, Jake said, hotel expenses charged to company accounts, client dinners that were actually romantic dates, travel expenses for personal trips. Vincent's been using company money to fund his affair. And Catherine Harrington, her envelope, special photos, love letters, and a detailed timeline, plus the prenup analysis Milo's lawyer friend provided. She'll know exactly how to protect herself financially. I tucked the folder under my arm. How do you want to handle distribution? I'll take the board members and senior staff. You handle Vincent, Marcia, and the others. We do it simultaneously at 9:30, right after Vincent's speech. Vincent's speech was an annual tradition, a year-end address thanking the staff and outlining the AY's vision for the future. This year, he'd chosen authentic partnerships as his theme. The irony was perfect. At 9:25, Vincent stepped up to the microphone. The room quieted as he began his presentation, talking about the importance of trust, loyalty, and authentic relationships in both business and personal life. This year has shown us the power of true partnership, he said, his eyes finding Marcia in the crowd. When people connect on a deep level, when they share common values and mutual respect, amazing things happen. I positioned myself near the back of the room, the folder heavy in my hands. Jake was across the ballroom, ready to begin his own distribution. At Harrington Creative, we believe in authentic relationships, Vincent continued. We believe in honesty, transparency, and putting our clients' needs first. These aren't just business principles, they're life principles. The audience nodded appreciatively. Several people glanced at Marta, who was beaming with pride. So as we look ahead to next year, I want to challenge all of us to be more authentic in everything we do. To be honest about our motivations, transparent about our relationships, and committed to the highest ethical standards. Vincent raised his glass to authentic partnerships. The room erupted in applause as the clapping died down and people began to return to their conversations. Jake and I went to work. I started with Vincent himself, walking up to him with a smile and an envelope. Fantastic speech, Vincent. Really inspiring. I have something for you. He took the envelope without looking at it, probably assuming it was a business card or holiday greeting. Thanks, Aiden. Glad you enjoyed it. Next was Marta. She was talking to a client when I approached, her face flushed with excitement from Vincent's speech. "Excuse me," I said to the client. "Could I borrow my wife for just a moment?" "Of course," the client said, stepping away. Marta turned to me with an annoyed expression. "What is it, Aiden?" "I'm working." "I know. You're always working. That's what I admire about you. Your dedication." I handed her an envelope. "This is for you." "What is it?" "Open it." She tore open the envelope and pulled out the contents. I watched her face change as she recognized the photographs. Her and Vincent at the Marriott at romantic restaurants in compromising positions that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. "Where did you get these?" "Keep reading." She flipped through the text message printouts, the email chains, the financial records. Her face went white as she realized the scope of the evidence. "Aiden, what are you doing?" "Being authentic. Isn't that what Vincent just talked about? Honesty and transparency. You can't what? Share the truth. Celebrate your authentic partnership." Around the room, other people were opening their envelopes. I could see the exact moment each person processed what they were looking at. The shock, the recognition, the dawning understanding of what this meant. Sienna Walsh let out a small scream when she opened hers. The board chairman, a distinguished man in his 70s, studied his contents with the grim expression of someone calculating damage control. Junior employees whispered to each other, comparing photographs and shaking their heads. Vincent was still talking to a client when he finally opened his envelope. I watched from across the room as he pulled out an 8x10 photograph of himself and Marcia in bed at the Marriott. His face went from confusion to horror to rage in the span of 3 seconds. Our eyes met across the crowded ballroom. He started pushing through the crowd toward me, his face murderous. "What the hell is this?" he shouted loud enough for half the room to hear. "It's your authentic partnership," I replied calmly. "Congratulations on finding your soulmate." You son of a bastard, Vincent." The board chairman's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "My office. First thing Monday morning." Vincent spun around to face his boss, the photograph still clutched in his hand. "Richard, I can explain. No explanations, not here. Not now." The room had gone completely silent except for the jazz band, who were still playing soft background music, oblivious to the drama unfolding around them. Everyone was staring at Vincent, Marcia, and me. The 3 points of a triangle that had just collapsed in spectacular fashion. Marta grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "How could you do this here in front of everyone?" "You wanted authenticity," I said. "This is as authentic as it gets. You've ruined everything. I've revealed everything. There's a difference." Vincent was standing in the middle of the ballroom, surrounded by his employees and clients, all of whom were now staring at him with expressions ranging from disgust to pity to barely concealed glee. His authentic partnership speech had become the setup for the most public humiliation of his career. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, raising my voice so everyone could hear, "I'd like to propose a toast." The room turned to me. Marta was shaking with rage beside me, and Vincent looked like he was about to have a stroke. "To authentic partnerships," I continued, raising my glass. "To honesty, transparency, and putting people's needs first. And to my wife and Vincent, who have shown all of us what true dedication looks like." The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Then slowly Jake Turnbull began to clap. A few other employees joined in, their applause scattered and uncertain. It wasn't celebration. It was the sound of people who didn't know how else to respond to what they'd just witnessed. I set my glass on a nearby table and walked toward the exit. As I reached the ballroom doors, I turned back one more time. Vincent was still standing frozen in the center of the room, surrounded by evidence of his betrayal. Marta was crying, her perfect makeup straight down her cheeks. Sienna Walsh was frantically trying to stuff photographs back into her envelope as if she could somehow undo what everyone had seen. "Enjoy the rest of the party," I called out. "I think it's going to be very memorable." I walked out of the Meridian Hotel and into the cold December night, leaving behind 22 years of marriage and a room full of people who would be talking about this moment for years to come. Phase 1 was complete, but I wasn't done yet. The next morning, I woke up in my guest room to the sound of my phone ringing. It was Ross. "Dad, holy, it's all over social media." "What's all over social media?" "The party. Someone recorded your speech and posted it. It's got like 50,000 views already." I sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. Someone recorded it? Yeah, and there are photos of Vincent and Mom from the envelope circulating on Twitter. The agency's getting destroyed in the comments. I walked to my window and looked out at the street. There were 2 news vans parked across from my house, and I could see reporters setting up cameras on the sidewalk. "Ross, I need you to stay away from the house today. Go to your sister's apartment and lay low." "What about you?" "I'll be fine. This is what I wanted." "Dad, are you sure about that?" "This is getting pretty intense. I was sure I'd spent weeks planning for exactly this scenario." The public exposure wasn't a side effect, it was the goal. After I hung up with Ross, I called Milo. "You see the news?" he asked without preamble, just getting caught up. "How bad is it for Vincent and Marcia?" "Career ending. The agency's board called an emergency meeting for this morning. Vincent's already been suspended pending investigation, and 3 major clients have pulled their accounts, and Marta guilty by association. She's been put on administrative leave while they review her employment status. But Aiden, there's something else." "What?" "Catherine Harrington filed for divorce this morning, and she's not just taking Vincent to the cleaners, she's going nuclear. Turns out she's been suspicious for months and had her own private investigator gathering evidence. Combined with what we gave her, she's got enough to destroy him financially." I felt a surge of satisfaction. Catherine Harrington had been the wild card in my plan, but she'd exceeded my expectations. "There's more," Milo continued. "Vincent's been using company funds for personal expenses related to the affair, hotel rooms, restaurant bills, even jewelry for Marta. The board's talking about criminal charges, embezzlement, fraud, misuse of corporate assets. Vincent's not just losing his job, he might be going to prison." I walked downstairs to make coffee, stepping over the stack of newspapers that had been thrown on my porch. The headline of the business section read, "Local ad executive suspended following affair scandal." My phone rang again. This time it was a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Brooks, this is Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7 News. We'd like to get your side of the story regarding last night's events at the Harrington Creative Holiday Party." "No comment, sir. We understand this must be a difficult time for you. Would you be willing to discuss how you discovered the affair?" "No comment." I hung up and turned off my phone. The media attention was exactly what I'd hoped for, but I didn't need to feed it. The evidence spoke for itself. Around noon, there was a knock at my front door. I looked through the peephole and saw Marta standing on my porch, still wearing yesterday's clothes and looking like she hadn't slept. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "We need to talk," she said. "Do we?" "Aiden, please. This has gone too far." "Has it?" "I don't think it's gone far enough." She pushed past me into the house and I let her. I was curious to hear what she had to say. "You've destroyed everything," she said, collapsing onto the living room couch. "My career, Vincent's career, the agency. Dozens of innocent people are going to lose their jobs because of what you did, because of what I did, or because of what you and Vincent did. You could have handled this privately. We could have gotten divorced quietly, split our assets, moved on with our lives. Instead, you chose to humiliate us in front of everyone we know." I sat down across from her, studying the woman I'd been married to for over 2 decades, Even now, even after everything, she was trying to make this my fault. "You're right," I said. "I could have handled this privately. I could have confronted you quietly, filed for divorce, and let you and Vincent ride off into the sunset together." "Then why didn't you?" "Because you didn't just cheat on me, Marta. You humiliated me. For months, you and Vincent turned me into a joke. You laughed about me with your co-workers. You made me the clueless husband while you flaunted your affair in front of everyone we know." "That's not. It's exactly what happened," Sienna told me herself. "Everyone knew except me. You made me look like a fool and you enjoyed it." Marta's face crumpled, and for a moment I saw a flash of the woman I'd fallen in love with 23 years ago. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by the calculating expression I'd grown to recognize. "What do you want?" she asked. "Money, the house. I'll give you whatever you want if you'll just make this stop." "Make what stop?" "The media attention, the social media posts. There are pictures of me and Vincent all over the internet. My parents called this morning. They're humiliated. Vincent's wife is taking him for everything he has, and the agency might not survive the scandal. Sounds like consequences. Aiden, please, I know I hurt you, but this is destroying innocent people. Innocent people. Like Vincent's wife, who's been lied to for months. Like the employees at your agency who've been passed over for promotions because they weren't sleeping with the boss. Like your children who are finding out about their mother's affair on Twitter." That last part hit home. Marta flinched like I'd slapped her. "The kids don't need to know the details. The kids already know the details." Ross helped me gather the evidence. He's seen every text message, every photo, every hotel receipt. He knows exactly who his mother really is. "You turned my own son against me. I didn't have to turn him against you. You did that yourself when you decided to humiliate his father publicly." Marta stood up, her face flushed with anger. "You're a vindictive, petty man, Aiden Brooks. I don't know how I stayed married to you for so long. Probably because I was paying for your lifestyle while you figured out how to trade up. Go to hell. Already been there. It looked a lot like the last 8 months of my marriage." She stormed toward the door, then turned back one more time. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is. Vincent's career is finished. Your reputation is destroyed. Your affair is public knowledge. And your children know exactly what kind of person you are. It's very much over. I'll find a way to make you pay for this." I smiled, the first genuine smile I'd felt in months. "Marta, you still don't get it. I already won." After she left, I poured myself a scotch and sat in my living room, watching the news vans pack up outside my window. My phone was buzzing constantly with calls from reporters, lawyers, and curious acquaintances, but I ignored them all. Around 6:01 p.m., Jake Turnbull called. "Aiden, it's Jake. I wanted to give you an update. How bad is it for Vincent? Total annihilation." The board voted to terminate him immediately. They're also pursuing legal action for the misuse of company funds. And Catherine Harrington's lawyers served him with papers this afternoon. She's claiming adultery, fraud, and emotional distress. She's going to own everything he has. And Marcia fired effective immediately. The board decided they couldn't keep her on after the scandal. Too much liability. What about the agency? Surviving barely. I've been promoted to interim creative director while they search for Vincent's replacement. 3 clients canceled their contracts, but the others are staying on. It'll take time to rebuild the reputation, but we'll make it. I raised my glass in a silent toast to Jake's promotion. He'd earned it. "Jake, I want you to know I appreciate everything you did to help." "Are you kidding? This is the best thing that's happened to me in years. Vincent's been screwing over good people for too long. He had it coming." After I hung up with Jake, I called my daughter Amelia at college. "Dad, are you okay? I've been seeing all this stuff online about Mom, and I'm fine, sweetheart. Better than fine, actually. Ross told me what happened. I can't believe Mom would do something like that. People make choices, Amelia. Your mother made hers. Are you getting divorced? Yes, but don't worry about me. I'm going to be just fine. What about Mom? I thought about Marcia, probably sitting in some hotel room right now trying to figure out how to rebuild her life from the wreckage of her own making. Your mother will figure something out. She always does. That night, I slept in my own bed for the first time in weeks. I'd had the locks changed that afternoon, and I'd already spoken to a divorce attorney about protecting my assets. Marta would get what the law required, but she wouldn't get a penny more. As I lay there in the dark, I thought about Vincent Harrington's speech about authentic partnerships. He'd been right about one thing, but one. When people connect on a deep level, when they share common values and mutual respect, amazing things do happen. I'd connected with Jake over our shared resentment of Vincent's arrogance. I'd bonded with Ross over our mutual love of justice and strategic thinking. I'd partnered with Milo to execute a plan that was both legal and devastatingly effective. Those were authentic partnerships built on trust, loyalty, and shared purpose. What Vincent and Marcia had was something else entirely. A selfish alliance based on lust, greed, and the thrill of deception. They'd called themselves soulmates, but they were really just two people who'd found someone equally willing to betray the people who loved them. Now they had each other and nothing else. Vincent was facing financial ruin, criminal charges, and professional exile. Marta was unemployed, publicly humiliated, and estranged from her children. I'd given them exactly what they deserved, each other with all the consequences that came with their choices. 3 months later, I was sitting in my lawyer's office signing the final divorce papers. Marta had tried to fight for alimony, but the evidence of her affair and the circumstances surrounding it had made that impossible. She'd walked away with her personal belongings in a small settlement that would keep her afloat for a few months. Vincent had been indicted on embezzlement charges and was facing 2 years in prison. Catherine Harrington had taken his house, his car, his investments, and his reputation. The last I'd heard, he was working at a small marketing firm in another state, making a fraction of his former salary. The Harrington Creative Agency had been sold to a larger firm, but Jake was still running the creative department and doing well. Several of the employees who'd been passed over during Vincent's reign had received promotions and raises. As for me, I was doing better than I had in years. My logistics company was thriving. My relationship with my children was stronger than ever, and I'd discovered that I actually enjoyed being single. I'd also learned something important about myself. I was much more dangerous than anyone had realized, including me. For years, I'd been the nice guy, the reliable husband, the man who avoided conflict and kept his head down. But when pushed too far, when humiliated and betrayed by the people who should have respected me most, I'd proven capable of orchestrating their complete destruction with surgical precision. I'd done it legally, methodically, and without breaking a single law. I'd used their own arrogance and carelessness against them, turning their public affair into their public downfall. Most importantly, I'd done it in a way that left me completely clean. I was the wronged husband who'd simply revealed the truth. I was the victim who defended himself with nothing but facts and evidence. Marcia and Vincent had played a game they thought they understood, but they'd never bothered to learn the rules. They'd assumed I was too weak, too boring, too predictable to fight back. They'd been wrong about everything. As I walked out of my lawyer's office, officially a single man for the first time in over 2 decades, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Complete satisfaction. I'd gotten my revenge, and it had been everything I'd hoped for and more. Vincent and Marcia had called themselves soulmates, and now they could be miserable together exactly as they deserved. Justice, it turned out, really was best served cold and in front of an audience.